I never thought my own family would treat me like an outsider in my own home. But growing up, that's exactly what happened. And years later, when my stepfather came crawling back, asking me for money, I finally said the words I've been holding inside for decades. My name is Daniel. I'm 29 years old now, but the story begins when I was just a boy. Back then, I was 10 years old. My mom had just remarried. The man she chose was my stepdad, a guy who seemed stable, wealthy, and respectable. On paper, he looked like the man who could change everything for us. You see, my mom didn't make much. She was surviving on minimum wage, doing everything she could just to keep food on the table. My real dad wasn't around. He had disappeared from the picture years before, leaving us behind like we were baggage he didn't want to carry. So when my stepdad entered the scene, we all thought life was about to get better. But we couldn't have been more wrong. My older brother Luke was 15 at the time. He was protective of me, always trying to shield me from the harsh realities of our childhood. But nothing could prepare either of us for the years that followed. My stepdad already had two daughters, Amy, who was 12, and AITA, who was 11. And from the very start, the line between his children and my mom's children was drawn in stone. It wasn't a blended family. It was two households under one roof. And guess who ended up on the losing side? The deal between my mom and my stepdad was simple. They agreed not to combine their finances. Each would contribute equally to the family budget. But after that, whatever money was left belonged only to their own children. That meant my mom, barely scraping by, could hardly give Luke and me anything extra. Meanwhile, my stepdad had a good income, a steady flow of cash, and he spoiled his girls like princesses. The difference was night and day. We didn't just notice it, we were reminded of it every single day. Vacations? We weren't invited. Oh, they took trips. They traveled. They had memories together, smiles in the sun, family dinners on the beach, laughter on airplanes. But Luke and I were left behind. Sometimes we stayed with relatives. Other times we were simply expected to make do while they enjoyed their perfect little family getaway. And my mom? She went with them too. Because my stepdad would pay for her ticket, but not for us. Do you know what that feels like? To watch your mother pack her bags, kiss you on the forehead, and walk out the door to enjoy a vacation with children who weren't even hers, while leaving you behind. It stung. It burned in a way I can still feel today. But that wasn't the only wound. Luke and I shared a small bedroom. Meanwhile, Amy and Ada each had their own rooms. And there was even a guest room, an empty space in the house reserved for visitors. But not for us. Why? Because my stepdad claimed he paid the bigger share of the mortgage. So the guest room, according to him, was his space. His contribution, not ours. It was a twisted kind of logic, and my mom defended it. She told us we should be grateful. Grateful that we even lived in a good house in a good neighborhood. Grateful that we weren't stuck in poverty anymore. But gratitude is hard to feel when you're treated like you don't belong. And the worst part? They knew it. Amy, Ada, and even my stepdad, they teased us. They mocked the difference. They reminded us constantly that we weren't part of their world. Every insult cut deeper than the last. Luke and I learned early on that no one was going to fight for us. So we had to fight for ourselves. We promised each other we'd grow stronger. We'd make our own money. We'd never have to depend on anyone again. And as the years passed, that's exactly what we did. We worked hard. We studied. We chased opportunities. We built our careers brick by brick. And today, both Luke and I are in a very good place. Financially stable, successful, independent. We don't need anyone's charity. And we sure as hell don't need my stepdad. Since I moved out at 18, things between me, my stepdad, and his daughters have been different. Not explosive, not hostile, but cold, distant. We coexist. If we're in the same room, we can be civil. We can share polite small talk. But deep down, I know they will never be my family. And I thought that chapter of my life was closed. Until the day my stepdad came to me with his hand outstretched. And that's where everything changed. It happens one weekend when I decide to visit my mom. I don't go there often. The house itself feels more like a museum of old wounds than a home. But sometimes, out of guilt or obligation, I stop by. And on this particular day, my stepdad is there, waiting. He doesn't waste much time on small talk. After a few pleasantries, he clears his throat. Then he drops the bomb. Daniel, I was hoping to talk to you about something important. I nod, already suspicious. He leans forward, his expression serious, like he's about to share world-changing news. It's about Amy, he says. I stiffen. Amy, the golden child. The one who grew up getting everything she wanted, while Luke and I were left with scraps. What about her? I ask flatly. She's pregnant, he says. I blink, taken aback for a moment. Okay, congratulations, I guess. He gives a thin smile, but then his eyes harden again. She and her boyfriend are planning to buy a house. It's a big step. The place they're looking at costs £500,000. $500,000. I can almost hear the number echo in my head. That's a lot. I reply cautiously. Yes, he says, which is why she needs help with the down payment. I already know where this is going, but I let him keep talking. She's got 100,000 saved. 25 from her, 25 from your mom, and 50 from me. I lean back in my chair, crossing my arms. And she still needs 50,000 more, he continues. That's where you and Luke come in. For a second, I almost laugh. The audacity of this man. After everything he did, or rather, didn't do for us. Now he wants us to bail out his daughter? Let me get this straight, I say slowly. You want Luke and me to give her £50,000? Yes, he says, as if it's the most natural thing in the world. 50 between you, he clarifies quickly. Not each, just 25 each. And of course, I'll make it right in the long run. I'll return it to you in the form of inheritance one day. I stare at him. Is this guy serious? Why on earth would I do that? I ask. He frowns, confused by my resistance. Well, because you can afford it, he says bluntly. You and Luke both own homes outright. You've built successful careers. You're in a good position to help. I shake my head slowly. It doesn't matter if I can afford it. I say. The answer is no. He looks stunned like I just spit in his face. No, he repeats. That's right. I say firmly. No, the room grows tense. My mom shifts uncomfortably, like she wants to say something but doesn't dare. My stepdad leans forward again, his voice rising slightly. You're being unreasonable, he insists. She's your sister. Don't you think family should help each other? My jaw tightens. She's not my sister, I reply coldly. She's your daughter. His eyes flash with anger. You gave your cousin £10,000 when he was buying a house, he snaps. Both you and Luke did. But when it comes to Amy, suddenly you've got nothing to give? That was our choice, I fire back. And this is my choice now. He slams his hand on the table. You should want to help your family, he shouts. And that's when the years of pent-up resentment bubble to the surface. I lean in, my voice sharp, my words cutting. Oh really? Like you helped me and Luke when we were kids. The silence that follows is deafening. My mom's eyes drop to the floor. My stepdad sits frozen, his face pale. For the first time in my life, I see guilt flicker across his expression. It lingers there, heavy and raw. Finally, he clears his throat. If I could go back, I'd do things differently, he mutters. I would have treated all four of you the same. I stare at him, my anger boiling and my heart pounding. That's nice, I say bitterly, but it doesn't give you a right to my money. He swallows hard. I know I don't have a right, he admits quietly. That's why I'm asking. That's why I'm promising to pay it back. But I shake my head. My answer is still no, I say. Not a loan, not a gift, not a single pound. His face hardens again, the guilt evaporating, replaced by cold disappointment. He doesn't argue further. Instead, he sits back, defeated, his lips pressed tightly together. Later, my mom corners me in the kitchen. You could have just said no, she hisses. You didn't have to bring up the past. You know how guilty he feels about it. I laugh bitterly. Good, I say. He should feel guilty. Her face tightens with frustration. Why do you always have to be so cruel? She whispers. Cruel? I repeat. You want to talk about cruel? Try being 10 years old and watching your mother go on vacation without you. Try being 15 and sharing a room while the girls had their own. Try listening to them mock us while you told us to be grateful. That was cruel. She has no reply. The kitchen falls into silence, heavy with everything left unsaid. And that's when I realize this isn't just about money. This is about every wound that was never healed, every injustice that was brushed aside, every moment Luke and I were told to be grateful for scraps. And now, when they finally need something from me, I get to say the one word I never heard as a kid. No. The car ride home from my mom's house feels heavier than lead. I grip the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turn white. My mind keeps replaying the scene. My stepdad's entitled face, my mom's sharp words, the silence that followed my refusal. For years, I swallowed everything. For years, I bit my tongue, smiled politely, and pretended the past didn't matter. But now it's all spilling out, raw and unfiltered. And for the first time, I don't feel guilty. I feel free. Still, the fallout comes quicker than I expect. That evening, my phone buzzes with a message. It's from Amy. Of course. Hey, she writes. Dad said you refused to help. Is that true? I stare at the screen, my blood boiling. Part of me wants to ignore it. But another part, the part that's sick of being silent, decides to answer. Yes, I reply simply. Seconds later, the typing bubbles appear. Then her response comes flying back. Wow, unbelievable. After everything we've been through as a family, you won't even lift a finger? My jaw drops. Everything we've been through? I laugh bitterly under my breath. You mean everything Luke and I went through while you were spoiled rotten? I type back. The dots appear again, and then her message pops up. That's not fair. You always act like we had it so easy. We didn't choose how Dad handled things. We were just kids too. For a second, I pause. She's right about one thing. They didn't create the rules. But did they suffer from them? No. Did they mock us, laugh at us, make sure we knew exactly how much less we had? Yes. And those scars don't fade. You didn't just stand by. I write back. You joined in. You teased us. You rubbed it in our faces. Don't pretend you were innocent. This time, the typing bubble lingers for a long time, then disappears. No reply. I toss the phone aside, my chest heaving. But the silence doesn't last long. The next day, Luke calls me. His tone is calm, but I can hear the tension underneath. So he says, I heard about Dad's little request. I sigh, rubbing my temples. Yeah, I told him no. There's a pause. Then Luke chuckles. Good. I was worried you might cave. Not a chance, I mutter. He tried to guilt trip me too, Luke admits. Said we should help since we're in a good place financially. Said it's the least we could do for family. I scoff. Family? That man wouldn't know the meaning of the word if it slapped him in the face. Luke laughs darkly. Exactly. Remember when he made us share a room while the guest room sat empty? How could I forget? I reply bitterly. Or how about when they all went to Spain and we spent the week eating ramen and watching reruns on TV? Luke's voice hardens. Yeah, and now he wants 50 grand like it's pocket change. Unreal. I nod, even though he can't see me. He said he'd pay it back in inheritance. I add. Luke bursts out laughing. Inheritance? Please. Like I'm waiting around for scraps from him. I'd rather burn my money than let him use it. The conversation steadies me. Because no matter how much pressure they put on me, I know Luke and I are united. We survived together. We fought together. And we'll stand together now. But my stepdad isn't done. 2 days later, he shows up at my apartment. Uninvited. He stands at my door with a forced smile, holding a bottle of wine like it's some kind of peace offering. Daniel, he says warmly. Can I come in? I hesitate. Every instinct screams at me to slam the door. But curiosity wins. I step aside. He walks in, setting the wine on the counter like he owns the place. For a moment, he tries small talk, asks about work, comments on the apartment. But I can see it in his eyes. The real reason he's here is burning behind them. Finally, he clears his throat. Look, he begins. I don't want to fight. I just want to talk man to man. I cross my arms, leaning against the wall. Then talk. He exhales slowly. I know I wasn't perfect when you were kids. I know I made mistakes. But things are different now. I'm trying to do better. Doing better doesn't mean asking me for money. I snap. His smile falters. I'm not asking for myself, he insists. I'm asking for Amy. She's in a tough spot. She's starting a family. Don't you think she deserves some stability? My blood boils. She deserves stability? Where was my stability when I was 10 years old? Where was Luke's? You want to talk about deserving? We deserved a father who gave a damn. Instead, we got you. He flinches, but he doesn't back down. You're successful now, he argues. You're doing well because I provided a home in a good neighborhood, a safe environment. If it weren't for me, who knows where you'd be today? The words hit me like acid. You think you get credit for my success? I snarl. You think living in your house made up for everything you denied us? You didn't raise me. You didn't support me. You didn't even see me. Don't you dare try to claim what I built for myself. His face turns red, his hands trembling slightly. This isn't about the past, he snaps. It's about the future. Amy's future. I step closer, my voice low and sharp. Then let her future be funded by the man who actually raised her. The air between us crackles with tension. Neither of us moves. Neither of us blinks. Finally, he breaks eye contact, his shoulders slumping. You'll regret this one day, he mutters. I laugh coldly. No, I say. The only thing I regret is ever letting you have power over me in the first place. He storms out without another word, slamming the door behind him. And for the first time in years, I feel like I've truly shut him out of my life. Days pass, but the tension doesn't fade. If anything, it spreads like fire. Every time my phone buzzes, my stomach knots. Because I know it's either my mom, or Amy, or my stepdad trying to wear me down. And sure enough, one evening my mom calls. Her voice is soft at first, careful. Daniel, Honey, can we talk? I close my eyes, already exhausted. Mom, if this is about Amy, I don't want to hear it. She sighs. Please just listen. She's stressed. She's pregnant. The baby's coming, and she needs stability. You know what it's like to struggle. You wouldn't want that for a child, would you? Her words cut deeper than I expect. Not because they're true, but because she dares to use my pain as leverage. I grip the phone tighter. Mom, do you hear yourself? You're asking me to relive every wound just so I can save them from ever feeling it. Where was this concern when I was the one struggling? There's silence. Then, quietly, she says, I was doing my best. My chest burns. No, Mom. You were doing what was easiest. You let him call the shots. You let him decide who deserved comfort and who didn't. And you told me to be grateful for it. Her breathing quickens. Daniel, please don't hate me. I close my eyes, tears stinging at the corners. I don't hate you. I whisper. But I'll never forget what you chose. The line goes quiet. She doesn't argue anymore. She just hangs up. And for the first time, I realize she's not going to stop him. She never has. She never will. A few nights later, Luke and I are invited to a family dinner. The word alone makes my skin crawl. But curiosity gets the better of me. Part of me wants to see just how far they'll push. So I agree to go. The moment I walk in, the atmosphere is suffocating. Amy sits at the table with AITA, her hand resting on her small baby bump. My mom hovers in the kitchen, her smile tight and forced. And my stepdad, he's at the head of the table, his throne. Luke arrives a few minutes later, his face unreadable. We exchange a look, a silent agreement. Stay calm, stay sharp. Dinner begins with stiff small talk. But it doesn't take long before the real agenda surfaces. So, my stepdad says casually, cutting into his steak, I was hoping we could revisit the conversation about Amy's house. Luke groans under his breath. Here we go, he mutters. I set down my fork, my appetite gone. There's nothing to revisit, I say flatly. I already gave you my answer. He smiles tightly, as if I'm a child throwing a tantrum. Daniel, don't be stubborn. This is about family, about coming together when it matters most. My blood boils. Funny, I snap. Because when it mattered most, you weren't there for us. The table goes quiet. Even AITA looks down at her plate, embarrassed. Amy frowns, her voice sharp. Why do you always have to bring up the past? We're adults now. Can't we just move forward? I turn to her, my voice steady but cutting. You want to move forward? Fine. Then stop expecting me to fix problems I didn't create. Stop asking me to pay for a life you already had while I was left with nothing. Her cheeks flush red. You think you're better than us because you have money now? She spits. I laugh bitterly. No, Amy. I don't think I'm better. I just think I don't owe you a damn thing. Luke finally speaks, his tone sharp. Daniel's right. We don't owe you. Not money, not sympathy, not anything. You had your father. We had scraps. That's the truth. My stepdad slams his fist on the table. Enough, he roars. The dishes rattle, and my mom flinches. You two are so ungrateful, he growls. Do you think your success just happened? You lived under my roof. You had food because of me. You had safety because of me. Without me, you'd have nothing. His voice echoes through the room like thunder. But I don't flinch. I meet his gaze head on. You didn't give us safety, I say, my voice trembling with rage. You gave us shame. You gave us emptiness. You gave us a childhood where we were always second-class citizens. And now you want us to forget that, hand you money, and call it love? Not a chance. His face turns crimson, his jaw clenched tight. For a moment, I think he might explode. But then something unexpected happens. His expression crumbles. The anger fades, replaced by something almost fragile. Regret. His shoulders slump, and for the first time, he looks smaller than me. I made mistakes, he whispers. The room falls into stunned silence. I should have treated you like my own, he admits. I should have done more, and I can't change that now. Tears sting in my eyes, but I don't let them fall. Then live with it, I say coldly. Because I did. Luke nods, backing me up. And we're done paying the price for your mistakes. Amy looks at him, then at me, her lips trembling. But what about me? What about my baby? She pleads. I turn to her, my tone softer but still firm. That child will grow up with everything I didn't have. A father who loves them. A mother who will put them first. That's more than enough. But you won't get it from me. The weight of my words hangs in the air. The room is silent, every eye on me. And in that moment, I know there's no turning back. This family dinner isn't about food. It's the funeral of a relationship that never truly existed. The room falls into silence. The air is heavy, like no one wants to breathe too loudly. My stepdad looks down at his hands, avoiding my eyes. He knows he's crossed a line, and now the past is slammed back into him. My mom clears her throat, but she doesn't say much. It feels like she wants to defend him, but the words just don't come out. I can see her struggling between her loyalty to him and the truth of what I just said. The truth that she has known all along. Finally, my stepdad looks up. His voice is softer now, almost trembling. He says, "If I could go back, I'd treat all of you the same." But to me, that doesn't mean much. You don't get to rewrite the past just because it's convenient now. I tell him, "That's nice of you to say, but it doesn't change anything. You made your choices, and now I'm making mine." The room goes quiet again. Everyone is staring at me, waiting for me to change my mind. But I won't. I won't hand over my money just because he feels guilty now. He tries again. He says he's not demanding, just asking. He promises he'll pay me back in the future through inheritance. But that promise feels empty. I've heard promises before. When I was a kid, there were plenty of promises that never meant anything. I shake my head. I tell him that my answer is still no. I tell him that he doesn't have a right to my money, not even as a loan. It feels like the final nail in this conversation. Later that night, my mom pulls me aside. Her eyes are tired, like she's been carrying guilt for years. She says I could have just said no without bringing up the past. She says I didn't need to be so harsh. She says my stepdad already feels guilty, and I only made it worse. I look at her, and I don't know what to say, because she's right about one thing. He does feel guilty, but he should. He should feel the weight of what he did, because we lived through it. We were the ones left out, ignored, made to feel less than. And now that he needs something from me, suddenly it's all about family. I ask her, where was family when Luke and I were stuck in one room? Where was family when you went on vacations without us? Where was family when we were told to be grateful just for existing in his house? She doesn't answer. She just looks down. And in that silence, I realize something. She knows I'm right. She always knew. And yet, she still chose him. She chose comfort, stability, and her own security over us. Maybe she thought it was the best option at the time, but the scars are still there. For me, for Luke. So I stand by my decision. I won't give the money. Not out of guilt, not out of obligation, and definitely not out of some false idea of family. Family is about love, about support, about being there when it matters most. And for us, that never happened. Luke agrees with me. He says we've worked too hard to finally have independence, to finally have security. We're not going to give that up just to fix mistakes that were never ours to begin with. He says we owe them nothing. And for the first time in a long time, I feel completely understood. My stepdad doesn't bring it up again. He avoids the subject like it never happened. But the tension hangs in the air every time we're in the same room. It's like a reminder that the cracks in this family never healed. And maybe they never will. Because the truth is, money isn't the issue. The issue is years of neglect, favoritism, and pain. Money is just the latest excuse for all of it to resurface. I walk away from that house knowing one thing for certain. I'm not the villain here. I'm not being selfish. I'm protecting myself, and I'm protecting Luke, because no one protected us when we needed it most. So now I ask you, what would you do in my place? Would you give them the money just to keep the peace? Or would you stand your ground, even if it means reopening old wounds?